Hi everyone, in this video I'd like to talk about the impact of transformational leadership style on employee performance, moderating role of organizational culture. So this is a linear regression analysis, but again we have a moderator variable which is organizational culture. What informs today's study is that we want to see whether the impact of leadership style on employee performance varies depending on the level of organizational culture. So in a linear regression, you have one independent variable. So in this case, it's transformational leadership style. And then you're also supposed to have one dependent variable. So in this case, I have employee performance, which anyone can decompose into performance appraisal score or productivity matrix. You can measure it. You can further decompose employee performance into segments, but in this case, I just want to have employee performance as a single variable. Now I have the moderator, which is the organizational culture. So we can have at low level, so this is like saying -1 standard deviation or below the mean, and then the average, which is at the mean, and then high, which is +1 standard deviation. So when we go deep into this analysis, which I encourage you to sit back and watch, you'll be able to understand this clearly, because I will demonstrate this analysis in SPSS. So this is the conceptual model which I always encourage people to make use of. Okay, try to create a conceptual model, so the model helps you to have an idea how your hypothesis look like. For example, this is hypothesis 1, and this is giving us the arrow. Keep an eye on the arrows. So the arrow shows you the regression lines, and the regression line is automatically your hypothesis you're posing. So hypothesis number 1 poses that transformational leadership style, which is the independent variable, would significantly influence or impact or predict employee performance, which is the dependent variable Y. And then the hypothesis number 2 would state that organizational culture would interact with transformational leadership style to further increase the effect at various levels of the moderator variable. Okay, that is why I have, if you come back here, you see I have at low level, average, and high. Okay, so what are the key benefits of moderation analysis? So if you want to conduct a linear regression and then you have a moderator variable to it to make your research robust, let us first look at some of the benefits that you may derive. Number 1, it identifies conditional effects. So the interaction, which is the same thing as the moderation effect, helps to determine whether the strength or direction of the relationship between the independent variable, that is in this case leadership style, and the dependent variable employee performance changes based on the level of the moderator, which is the organizational culture. Okay, so we want to see whether at low level of organizational culture or at high level of organizational culture, whether the influence of the independent variable still increase or predict or influence the employee performance. Now, what are some of the basic assumptions? Okay, if you've collected the data using Likert scale questionnaire, one of the basic assumptions you need to check is that is the reliability of the measurement scale. So you need to subject them to different reliability measures. The most popular one is the Kronberg's alpha reliability, and then we have other ones. So you need to subject the scale to reliability measures to be sure that the measurement scales can be considered reliable to measure what you want to measure. 2, you need to check normality. Okay, in a separate video, I have shown how you can conduct normality tests. I've also showed how you can conduct reliability statistics. You can find them in the video description box below. Then the third assumption is the multicollinearity. So your independent variable and moderator variables should not be highly correlated with each other, as multicollinearity inflates standard errors and undermines the model. So check using variance inflation factor like VIF or tolerance. For example, you can see Wu and Zumbo. And with time, I'm also going to show you the paper so you can take time to read through the paper. Their assumption is that the moderator variable is an auxiliary variable that shouldn't correlate highly with the independent variable. The fourth one is to mean center the independent and moderator variables. You also need to have your variables like the moderator, dependent and independent variables must be continuous. Okay, what do I mean by they must be continuous? They will not be like yes and no response, so it has to be continuous. If you've collected your data using Likert scale, you can check out my video down the video description box below on how you can convert or group your Likert scale data into continuous variable. Because you remember that if you have collected your data for the variables using Likert scale, so the ratings are like 1 equal to strongly disagree, 1 to 5 or 7 equal to strongly agree. So that makes it categorical or ordinal. Then you need to be careful about the sample size. The sample size must be sufficient, okay, so that you'll be able to generalize the findings of your study to a larger population. Scale of measurement. So ensure that you adopt existing validated measurement scales. In most cases, you may have to use existing measurement scales and make some modifications before you be able to use them. So it is important. I always encourage people to look for measurement scales, existing measurement scales, because it's a different thing to create your own measurement scale when you want to conduct a particular study. Creating measurement instruments is a full study on its own. So you don't want to do too many things when you're conducting your research. So the best thing is, for example, I've got the variables like organizational culture. There are series of measurement scales available on the internet already validated by previous studies that you can use to go into your main study. So I encourage you to do that instead of developing your item statements, which may in most cases fail series of validity and reliability measures. So you may want to read this paper by Wu and Zumbo. So I've added the reference here so you can pause the video, because I mentioned that while I was talking, explaining the issue of multicollinearity. So you can pause the video to copy the reference and then read the paper. At this point, let us head over to the SPSS to look at the data that we've already gotten. So this is leadership style, this is organizational culture, and this is employee performance. And if we look at our conceptual model, you will understand that we've got employee performance as the dependent variable. And then we have the transformational leadership style as our independent variable. Now, if we first of all want to conduct the linear regression, which is hypothesis number 1, the assumptions we need to check, there are plenty of them. So looking at some of the basic assumptions, these data are already in continuous form, and which means that the reliability analysis may have been conducted. If you need to learn about reliability, you can check down the video description box to watch the tutorial on that. Then the second assumption that we need to check is to check for normality. So for you to check normality, you need to only use the dependent variable to do that. So let me quickly check to know whether the data are normally distributed. So I will go to Analyze, Descriptive, Explore. So I'm going to load the dependent variable here into the dependent list, and I will go to plots. I will uncheck this, check the histogram, normality, and then I click OK. This is the test of normality, and this is where our interest is. So we want to see the result of Shapiro-Wilk tests and Kolmogorov-Smirnov results. So our interest here is at the sig value, the SIG, the significant value result. So here we want to make sure that that the sig value, the sig result, is not statistically significant, which means it's not below 0.05 significant level. And then, so this means that we have met the assumption of a test of normality, so we've not violated that. The data can be considered to be normally distributed at this point because these two analyses are not statistically significant. Again, we can look at the histogram, and one way to check this is that we can double click this and then go to elements and show the distribution curve. And so this gives us an idea of a normal distribution curve, okay? And so we can consider this to be normally distributed, given the test of Shapiro-Wilk test, that the test of normality that we already have here. So one more things you may also want to check is the normal QQ plot. And so, but again, I feel that this is the basic, this is the major test that you want to see, the Shapiro-Wilk test, and then the normal distribution curve that the histogram has also presented to us. So this can be considered that the dependent variable data can be considered to be normally distributed. The next thing we need to check is the multicollinearity. But before then, what we can do to check this is to simply head over to analyze, then we can go to correlation. So we can simply push this into the variable box and then click OK. So you can see the analysis for the correlation analysis. This can give us an idea of how the variables are actually correlating. Now you can see that leadership correlates with employee performance. So that gives us an idea whether there could be possible relationship between transformational leadership and employee performance, whether the relationship can be positive or might be positive, right? And then again, you can see that leadership do not have any correlation with organizational culture, and then you can see the level of the correlation that's pretty small, 0.018, and that is somehow aligning with the assumptions of Wu, that the independent variable and the moderator variable are not meant to correlate much with each other because the moderator is considered an auxiliary independent variable. Then, but again, you can look at the correlation between leadership style and employee performance. You can see that that is 0.611, indicating that there's basically no higher correlation between the two. Again, organizational culture correlating with employee performance is 0.508, indicating a strong correlation, but not really multicollinearity, not really correlating too high. So we can at this point, we can also consider that we do not violate the third basic assumption. The next one we need to do is to mean center the variables. Okay, to mean center the variable, we will go to analyze, descriptive, we go to descriptive, and then independent variable leadership style. Okay, so because we will also do interaction moderation analysis, so we need to also put this together. And then I will go to the option. I just want to see the mean and standard deviation. I don't need, I just want to see the mean, okay? And then I will click OK. Now to mean center the variable, the independent and moderator variables, what I need to do is to go to transform, compute variable. I will mean center the variable. To mean center that, I will write leadership underscore C. The C means centered, okay? And then I will say leadership minus the mean. So I'm going to copy the mean, Control C, then I'll paste minus the mean. So that is going to create the mean centered variable. Then I'm going to have the other one, organizational culture, centered. Then I'm going to insert the organizational culture and subtract minus the mean. And then I'll click OK to have the variables centered. So you can see that I've been centered the variables, because once you give the command SPSS, we mean center the variables for you, okay? Now that I have done this, I've also observed the fourth assumption. Now the fifth one is that the variables must be continuous, okay? Now you can see that I have continuous variables here. All of them are continuous, okay? And then sufficient sample size. Well, I have a total of 150 respondents in this data, so that's a sign that they could be manageable, okay? We can actually generalize the findings within the population of the study, please, not within the whole world. You generalize your findings within the population of the study. Then the last one is scale of measurement. So if you want to use the Likert scale self-report measures, ensure that you use or adapt. What I mean by adapting is that you want to use existing validated measurement scale, and then you want to make some changes to suit the context of your study. That's what I mean by adapting. But assuming that you have organizational culture that is aligning with the aim of your study as a variable, as a measurement scale, you can adopt it, which means you can use it to measure your variables. To test the hypothesis number one, which is that transformational leadership would significantly relate to employee performance. Hypothesis one states that transformational leadership would significantly relate to employee performance. So that is the first hypothesis that we've got. So the second one, hypothesis 2, will be that the relationship between okay, so hypothesis number 2 reads that the relationship between transformational leadership style and employee performance will be moderated by organizational culture, such that the relationship will be stronger when organizational culture is high in the employee's workplace. So this is exactly what I have demonstrated here. So this is to say that organizational culture would interact with transformational leadership to strengthen the effect that the independent variable X brings to employee performance. So we're going to run the analysis first. The first one is the linear regression analysis. So we will simply go to analyze, regression, linear. So at this point, employee performance will be into the dependent variable box, and then leadership style centered, because this time we have been centered the leadership style, so we can decide to use this at this point. So leadership style being centered, so I'll go to the statistics. I want to see the confidence interval, and I also see the R square at this point, and these are all, and then I'll click OK. And so this is the result of the linear regression analysis. So here is the model summary that we want to see. And if you are a graduate student or that want to demonstrate the results, so you can see that you will first post these particular results and so call this table 1, model summary. Okay, and so we will also pull the second result, which is the most important, the coefficients. And so these are the results that you want to see when you conduct linear regression. So this is table 2, which is the coefficients. So here we can see that our focus is on the standardized regression coefficient. Now, if you look at the results, at this point we can put this on leadership style, transformational leadership style, and this is employee performance. Okay, so at this point, if you look at the result, you will see that from the standardized coefficients that transformational leadership style has a positive relationship with employee performance, because the beta weight is 0.611. This is a strong relationship, and the sig value is less than 0.0001. That's quite really low, and so this is statistically significant. And you can look at the confidence interval to see that 0 did not fall between the null, confirming the statistically significant result. So to write out the result, you may want to start the presentation this way. So to interpret the results, you can say the result of hypothesis 1 shows that. So you want to put the result of the model summary. You want to show that the result of F into the degree of freedom 148 bracket close equal to the F change 87.96. that is this result. So you want to copy this result and comma, result of the R square So you want to put the result of the R square, so you can see the R square is 0.37. That means 0.37, so that means 37.3% of variance explained in the analysis. Then you want to see the adjusted R square. To do that, you can insert from symbols, so you can check out more symbols. I want to see change, that is delta, so I'm going to insert that. That is change in R square. So change in R square equal to 0.37, and adjusted R square equal to 0.369, that is 0.37. okay, and then you put the p-value, the p less than 0.000. Okay, so this is this is how to report the. It showed that transformational leadership style significantly and positively related to was statistically and positively related to employee performance within the hence so this is how you write the result. We go to insert, we go to beta weights, we want to see beta equal to 0.61, and then the p is equal to 0.000. If you also want, you can put the confidence interval equal to 0.86 comma into 1.31, and then you insert the result of the p-value. And so at this point you want to accept the hypothesis, because this is the hypothesis that we've posed here is an alternative hypothesis, right? So this is not a null hypothesis, this is a positive hypothesis posed. All right, and so let us deal with hypothesis number 2. For hypothesis number 2, the analysis is gradually changing from linear regression analysis that we've got to multiple linear regression. So there are 2 ways to go about this. To test the hypothesis number 2, which predicts the relationship between transformational leadership style and employee performance, would be moderated by organizational culture, such that the relationship will be stronger when organizational culture is high in the employee's workplace. To achieve this, we need to head over to SPSS again and then create the interaction between the 2. To do this, we'll go to compute, and then we will create the interaction So we're going to have leadership X underscore culture. So this X here means the interaction, that is like, say, leadership by organizational culture. Okay, so we will delete this, and then you will simply add leadership means centered. Remember, it's the one means centered, and the reason is to reduce possible measurement errors such as multicollinearity. And then we will multiply this by organizational culture, okay, to get the interaction term. So when we go back to the data view, so you are going to see that the interaction has been created. So at this point, it is this interaction term that has been created that you will insert to check the interaction effect, okay, the moderation and effect. So to conduct the analysis, so what we need to do, we'll head back to regression, linear, and then we insert the performance into the dependent box, and then we want to insert the leadership style, organizational culture means centered, and then the interaction term. So the linear regression analysis is gradually changing into multiple regression, what we call multiple regression. Now there are two ways to do this. You will still get the same, very similar or the same result. If we want to create if we want to go the route of hierarchical regression, so what it means is that we will first of all add the independent variable, and then move to the next and add culture, organizational culture, and the interaction term to the next. That will make it to be hierarchical regression. But in this case, our interest is on just to test the moderation analysis. So I just want to show you that you can still use multiple regression to achieve the same goal, whether you go through the route of hierarchical or multiple linear regression, you will still find the same result. So we will click OK to see the result of the analysis. So when we look at the analysis, you will still see the model summary, a statistically significant if change statistics, a good model summary, and then you can see that the R square has changed, significantly increased from what we had before. We had 0.37, which is about 37% of variance explained in the totally explained in the analysis. 0.66, which is about 66% explained in the analysis. So, but again, let us look at the main results. So this is exactly what we have to present. The coefficients and also pests. So we can call this table 4, while we call this table 3, if you follow through the results. So to interpret this result right now, so we can also say the result of hypothesis 2, and then we'll go to check the R square is 0.66, so I'm going to replace the R square, and then the F change is 3146 into 3146 equal to 94.09. So I'm going to replace this 09, and then the R square we had 0.66, adjusted R square 0.65, 0.65 and R square change, R square change 0.66, adjusted R square 0.65. okay, and it's statistically significant, which we have already reported here. Also, it showed that transformational leadership, so here actually is our focus. We want to see that this result is statistically significant, and we can see that the result is statistically significant, okay, because here we found out the relationship. In the previous study, the previous analysis conducted, we found the statistically significant effect of transformational leadership, but in this case our interest is specifically on the interaction effect, and you can see that we found a statistically significant interaction because this is 0.035, which is less than 0.03, and our standardized Bethe weight is 0.349. So we can say it showed that the transformational, it showed that the interaction between transformational leadership and organizational culture was positively employee performance. Okay, so we will now change this to be 0.35 and then change the confidence interval, so you can see also confirming the result of the seek value, which is the confidence, 95% confidence interval. So we can put this to be 0.02 into 0.50 and the p-value. So also it showed that interaction between a transformational leadership style and organizational culture was positive and significantly impact employee performance. Hence, hypothesis 2 was accepted. So remember, here we've got the moderation effect. See the interaction slope or graph. We will head over to Start Wiki. If you've got stats, so if you open James Gaskin's Stats Tool package, which you can find on the website, James Gaskin, just Google James Gaskin, so you're going to find this, and then the two-way interaction, you will see the plot, which can enable you to see the interaction effects of the independent variable on the dependent variable. So first we are going to insert the variables. There are other ways to do this, but I find this quite interesting. So let us pull the independent variable. The independent variable is transformational leadership. So let's make it short, leadership style. So I will head over here. It said insert the independent variables. So I will insert leadership style. The moderator is organizational culture, org culture. The dependent variable is performance, employee performance, and so it will create the analysis for you. So you can see this is leadership style by organizational culture, the interaction results. Now we head over to the SPSS output. We want to make use of the unstandardized regression results, which is 1.626. Okay, so I'm going to write that the leadership on this is 1.626. 1.626, yeah. And then organizational culture, the unstandardized coefficient is 0.764. So for the that is 0.764. And then for the interaction effects, the unstandardized result is 0.026. 0.026. And so we look at the results. Try to adjust this. Also try to adjust this. So that could be very readable, right? So, and so you can see the low organizational culture, that's the moderator, the low level of organizational culture, this represents that, and then the high organizational culture. Okay, so and then we can look at this graph, we can copy this and insert into our research results to probe the interaction slope. And assuming this was conducted using the process macro, we would have been able to plot at 3 time points. If you know how to run the analysis using process macro, you can learn to do that at low level, at average, and high level. So this is at low level, this is at high level. So the graph, interaction slope graph, you can call this figure 1 equal to interaction slope or graph. This graph still tells us, it shows an increasing effect, interaction point, increasing effect between the moderator organizational culture and then the leadership. So you can see the low leadership style, which is on the blue color, and then high leadership style, which is quite on a high side. So this is how you can conduct linear regression analysis and then check interaction effect in your study, and then be able to interpret the results the way I have done this here. What is most important is for you to make use of models to be able to explain, to know the directions of your hypothesis. Okay, so when you look at the model, that clearly gives you an idea of how to go about this. In a separate video, I will also demonstrate how you can conduct this same analysis using process macro by Andrew Hayes. Thank you for watching, and if you find the video interesting, please share the video and like and subscribe to the channel. You can also turn on the notification bell so that when I post a new video, you'll be able to get a notification that the new video has been posted. Thank you so much for watching.